Afternoon, everyone. This is the Big Iron Livestock Market Wrap Up. It's December 9th. I've got Daryl Holiday with us here with Country Futures out of Frankfort, Kansas. And Daryl, another crazy whirlwind of a cash market in the feeder calves this last week. Just reading all types of different remarks by the end of the weekend, we hit new state records on feeder calf sales on these flyweight 390 pounders in Dodge City, to a bunch of record breakers up in Yankton, South Dakota, and north central Nebraska. Uh, is this How do we keep doing this?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that are really, really important. Number one is it's kind of the trend we've been in. It's this whole way it's way too much feed chasing way too few cattle, and that's I actually visited a couple sale barns last Thursday and Friday, and we're finding the demand is everywhere. It's kind of like we got the corn cut, the wheat up. The wheat's phenomenal. Got lots of hay. Spent some time in Missouri late last week. Reminded me of all the fescue hay that's in barns and setting around. I mean, they had and they got cattle grazing out on fescue. So feed everywhere, um, and and a shorter supply of cattle. Now, what it has caused, what the interesting side of that to me is, we're actually causing the supply to go up, and you go, well, you can't increase the supply. Well, it is what it is, but you can pull cattle forward. And I guarantee
Mhm.
you what you're seeing today, and you'll see it this week, and you'll see it right into the year, is you'll see those cattle showing up today that would have been normally gone in January. I think there's a lot of people saying, I don't need to feed hay. I don't have to do chores. If they want
Yeah.
them that bad, we're going to bring them in. And this will probably be what will put the near term top in. I think we're going to get a lot of these, uh, the wheat cattle appetite, that maybe filled up a little bit, although I'm not sure we're done. I'm just saying maybe we get
Yeah.
to a point where maybe they back off. So it's really
Yeah.
just too much feed. And then everybody thought, really, as the futures kind of waned last week at one time, well, we're going to see fed cattle are going to be lower this week. Cash fed, nope, they were higher.
Yeah.
190 to 191, five-state area 190.90. So that kind of adds fuel to the fire. The futures market continues to be really pessimistic. They have no interest in even being near the cash market in terms of, in a big way. It just continues to stay at a discount, and that's
Yeah.
probably still been the good thing for it.
Right. Sounds like I don't know what you're seeing down in your country and farther south and west, but it appears and what I've heard just recently that with all these rains we've had the last month in southern Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, the wheat crop is abundant, and trying to stay ahead of it, they're
Yes.
bringing in a lot of calves just to keep this wheat at bay.
Yes, that is correct. Matter of fact, I actually ran into an individual farmer rancher from Buffalo, Oklahoma. He told me he was a little concerned that his wheat might be getting too tall and jointing. Uh,
Right.
and he happens to be someone who's bought some cattle, Mexican feeder calf, imported them, and that kind of ran out too because of their issue with the New World screwworm and that
Yeah.
quarantine. So it's interesting how those things all came together. All this feed, as you're talking about, the wheat where it's at, and now there's when wheat's down there at $5, a little $5, five and a quarter, five and a half, depends on what you're looking at. They look around and go, that wheat might do me more good putting pounds on cattle. That's true, but you have to watch those upfront costs that they don't price you out of that margin also.
Right. 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 Very good. So yeah, we've talked a little bit about this the last couple of weeks, and we've
Mhm.
got several customers that have been backgrounding calves. And do you do you do you think a guy ought to try and plug these in and get them sold before the end of the year, or would we be okay putting them on a sale? We've got the first Tuesday of January on the
No,
7th.
I think
Um,
there'll be good. I think it'll be good through that Tuesday. I really do. Now, we might move one or two. It's hard to say. The fed
yeah,
cattle market. I think the biggest concern I'd have would not be the demand for calves or feeder cattle would back off. It would be that if the fed market gets just a little bit, breaks back to 87 or 88, you're going to feel that a little bit in the calves, but it won't be dramatic. But
yeah,
general rule of thumb is you'll be pretty solid right into that 9th, 10th of January.
yeah,
Uh, Now, I think the ones you might be running into if you have sales that you're referring to is that if it's for, well, we're selling them on January 7th, but we're not going to deliver them until February. Now that gets into a different animal that's going to be ready in the summer. Now, with that said, this is something I thought we might want to talk about today. I
yeah,
want people who get caught in that, be careful because really, I think there's a really good chance that when you sit down and figure out where the placements are at down the road, and we're sitting here in February having this discussion or March, I think there going to be a good question is where are the cattle going to come from for June, July, and August fat cattle market? Because we're going
right.
to really struggle to put placements in that category, and so I certainly would like to tell people don't give them away. Uh, just because, well, I always sell on February 1 and the market's down and because whatever might not
Yeah,
be down. But if it is, because they're all looking at this summer market, they're looking at a summer discount. But I think the discount August carries and even June carries to April. I think that's always warranted. Don't get me wrong. I know it's going to be there. But I think when we get there, that time period will be stronger than people think compared to the spring. Matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being higher in and maybe in August and September than we will be in mid-May, early May,
May,
believe it or not. And that
right.
can happen. And it's all because if there's a hole that we're going to form in the feedlots, it could very well be for that time period.
That time frame. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That'll be the next thing I'll be picking your brain on as we start to prep guys for next year's calf crop. And we're focused on these seasonal rallies in the summer. Should we be pushing to get them prepped to ready to sell in July, or do we focus on August set? And that'll be a question for another day down the road here
Yeah,
as
it
we
will
get
be. Yeah.
closer.
Yeah. It
So,
will be because we're really going to have to see how the things develop. We can't emphasize it. One of the reasons I think this hole is going to be created is what we've talked about is that you just through this whole bull, this supply chain change that we've seen over the last 2 or 3 years, COVID and all the other things. One thing that we've consistently done once we started going up is we just keep pulling cat. We like to, in the term we like to use, we keep eating our young. What that means is we were
yeah,
getting rid of the cows, and then all of a sudden we go, well, we need the calves. So let's bid them up. So we pull the calves forward, and all of a sudden you are going to get to a point, and we're into the numbers now where you could create some holes because, oh, well, I don't want to have my cattle ready July 1 on the in the feedlot. I think that'll be a mis- I just don't think that works this year. Matter of fact, once again, we may have a break in fat cattle in the spring in the cash, but below levels what people think. Although I don't see there's nothing bearish out there at this point in time. But at
right.
the same time, I think the summer numbers will be tighter than people think. Can get there pretty easily.
Yes, right. Very good. Well, great. Well, Daryl, again, thank you for all of your education and thoughts here today. Again, this is Daryl Holiday with Country Futures. This is the Big Iron Livestock Market Wrap Up. We'll plan to see you next week. Thank you, Daryl.
Thank you, Pat. Appreciate it.